Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from Reality Art Pod, here to talk about The Traitors Season 3, Episode 7, titled Till Death Do Us Part. Last time on The Traitors, trainer Bob Harper lost big when he was murdered by the traitors, and after the faithful blew the big traitor to hell, even Detective Derek's best argument couldn't stop the group from banishing arrogant faithful Wes. Before I dive in, I put a link in the description to my playlist where you can catch up on my previous recaps. If you like the content, consider liking and subscribing. As always, my videos aren't meant to replace the original content. I encourage you to watch the episode on Peacock to form your own opinion. But let's dive into it. We pick back up where we left off. As usual, the traitors are pissed off at each other. They become deflated and want to strategize around the shields. Rob suggests Derek. Danielle doesn't like that idea because Derek is her friend. Carolyn suggests Sam. Danielle doesn't like that idea. Dylan. Danielle doesn't like that idea. They bring up Sierra's name. It's a no for Danielle, dog. Fast forward to the next day at breakfast. Brittany struggles to find conversation with Ivor, who she calls furniture. Chriselle is hoping Tom is murdered and tells them if she was a traitor, she would have done it already. Gabby openly speculates to the whole table she thinks Ivor's gonna be murdered. It would be awkward and unfortunate if she said it right in front of Ivor. Oh wait, she did. He's right there. Eek! In the end, Derek is murdered with flashback to Rob really pushing the Derek agenda, and the traitors once again deciding to make a truce to start over if they do it. Derek finds out he's murdered. Derek knows that Rob has killed him. He's certain. And we lose Derek here, who came into the game with a big reputation, having dominated his season of Big Brother and helping crack the case and save the world from Ainsley in Big Brother 26. As a cage boy, he had a bye for the first few rounds and quickly sussed out Boss and Rob's entire game. He even mapped out things that happened in the game when he wasn't even there for the players that were present for it. Ultimately, he was very right, but being right doesn't get you anything besides a kudo from me. Had Rob been banished, the other traitors would just murder him for being such an obvious faithful and good traitor hunter. So I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's a good player for this show. And while I still don't think he's good TV, I did find his vibes somewhat more enjoyable here than I did on Big Brother. Danielle is really torn up by this murder and crying at breakfast. Tom is sus on Rob, realizing that everyone who's been murdered has been a threat to Rob. Alan shows up in full white, Morgan Freeman God by way of Pee Wee Herman, and tells them to get into pairs for the challenge. Dylan whispers to Rob that he has big T and that Derek left him with a name before he was murdered. On fashions, I don't usually do this, but there's a tie for worst dressed at breakfast between Rob and Tom. What is going on with these hideous tracksuits? Best dressed has to be Sierra. This outfit is fabulous at breakfast, but the full look with the coat is immaculate. Dylan tells Rob that Derek warned him about Brittany. Tom catches them whispering to each other in the hallway. Brittany and Danielle pair up for the challenge. These two have really worked on their relationship being on the show. Meanwhile, Dylan and Rob try to rope Tom in against Brittany, and Tom is like, Rob, this evidence is against you. Tom is rolling his eyes at Rob like me to my teachers in school when they said homework. They head to their challenge where players are in red wedding outfits and they all look so good. Alan has on a wedding gown. They're in 6 pairs trying to win $27,000 and shields for themselves. Each pair will go head to head against another pair, and 3 pairs will be safe from murder. 3 pairs will be at risk. Sam and Ivor will face Tom and Dylan. Sierra and Rob will face Dolores and Chriselle, and Danielle and Brittany will be against Gabby and Carolyn. They head to their outdoor wedding in front of a mausoleum. They'll need to hold their partner's hand for 8 minutes. If their pair holds their hand over the plinth for 8 minutes, they'll get $4,500 towards the pot. The team that lasts longer will be safe. As they play, they find out they'll have nasty, scary crap poured over their hands throughout the challenge. First are millipedes. Chriselle quickly quits, she's over it, so Chriselle and Dolores will be up for murder. Rob is coaching potty mouth Sierra through this challenge. Alan releases what he calls the Taylor Swift scorpion. Danielle flips off Alan. I would too. Carolyn is fighting to keep her friend Gabby safe. Carolyn's not afraid. She has a tattoo of the Taylor Swift scorpion on her butt. Gabby whisper talks affirmations as mealworms are dumped on them. These worms were gross. The bugs get all stuck in Tom's hat. Hate this stuff. In the last minute of each round, they put a snake on their shoulders, and they all power through, but it's rough. Everyone except Chriselle and Dolores complete the challenge, earning $22,500 for the pot, but the rest of the pairs go to a sudden death round where they have to race to find a ring in a box of bugs. After all they've been through today, this seems easy. Ivor and Sam and Danielle and Brittany find their rings, earning shields. They head back to the manor. In one car, Rob is throwing Brittany's name out. Sierra's clinging on to that. In the other car, Brittany is anti-Rob. When they get back, in one room, Tom continues his anti-Rob campaign to Dylan, Ivor, and Sam, and Rob and Sierra try to convince Dolores and Chriselle that Brittany is a traitor. Rob concludes that he needs the other traitors to vote for Brittany, so he asks Carolyn and Danielle for help with it. The other faithfuls are starting to act weird with Brittany, and Danielle doesn't want to go with Rob against Brittany. Danielle wants to stand up for what she feels is right. They head to the round table where Alan scares the out of Carolyn. Dylan starts this one off, sharing what Derek said to him the night before he was murdered, where where Derek said that Boston Rob and Brittany were the traitors. Brittany defends herself from the previous roundtable, saying she's 100% faithful. Sam chimes in that they need to all agree that the evidence is all pointing towards Rob. Sierra comes into Rob's defense, and Tom says that everybody who's come for Rob have all been murdered. Rob argues that Wes and Derek realized they were both faithfuls, and through that they assumed that Rob was a traitor. He goes on his weekly tirade. He tries to frame Derek's teammates in the previous challenge. Someone on that team must have known that Derek didn't have a shield, so he uses that to point the finger at Brittany. Brittany is set off by this, passionately saying they're going to have the exact same conversation the next day if they end up voting for her. They get to the votes, and I'll dive deeper into these votes later, but Brittany gets 2 votes from Sierra and Rob. Tom catches 2 strays from Chrishell and Dolores. Dylan votes for Gabby, and Tom, Brittany, Carolyn, Sam, Ivor, Danielle, and Gabby vote for Rob. So Rob will be banished. After all of this, Gabby whispers she thinks Rob is a faithful. Rob gets into the circle of truth and reveals that he has and always has been a traitor. Of course, they lose their minds celebrating. So we say goodbye to Boston Rob here, who came into the season by and large the biggest threat on the board, with seasons and seasons of competition shows under his belt, and just his name being a household name, especially after Deal or No Deal Island really feeling like the Rob show, which brought a lot of views and money to Peacock and NBC. You know, the producers were really hoping to get their money's worth from Rob. To avoid him getting sent home first, they set up a twist where he was falsely sent home first, but then actually kept him around for longer. To his own credit, he did play these people like fools and stick around way longer than he should have. He's very set in his ways, where his strategy is to come for people who came for him, which resulted in him murdering everyone who stood in his way, and then pretending that he was being framed. I guess that's what he had to do, and while I normally would suggest murdering random faithfuls that nobody would suspect, I can see that he was trying to whittle down votes against him out of survival. And there is a universe where Rob courts Chrishell to the final 2, and Chrishell should be thanking her lucky stars that she doesn't live in that universe. Following Rob's banishment, Danielle is excited to have assassinated the Godfather. Alan tells them that the 6 players at risk of murder will be going to the church, where they'll walk down the aisle alone, and one of them won't return. The traitors will be murdering them face to face. Brittany and Danielle celebrate by Sana Sa dancing in the hall. They have a cute friendship. The 2 traitors head to the turret, where for the first time they aren't that upset with each other. Danielle tells Carolyn she has her back, but Carolyn is still threatened by Danielle and Brittany's friendship. They have to decide who to murder from Chrishell, Dolores, Dylan, Tom, and Gabby. The episode ends with the eligible players walking to their death. They look so good, and this is so well shot. They eulogize themselves and threaten the traitors. After catching a traitor, Tom says he'll die a happy man. A few final thoughts. I watched last week's post-mortem on YouTube, where Bob and Wes were confident that Rob was a traitor, and of course it was satisfying to see Bob being shocked by both Danielle and Carolyn being traitors, owning that he wrote Carolyn off and calling her an evil genius. I know I said I was Wes'd out, but I listened to Wes's interview with Johnny Bananas on Bananas podcast, which ended up being an hour-long deep dive from Wes, where he talked about everything that happened while he was on the show. In Wes's opinion, Chrishell is the worst player to ever play any iteration of the show for voting out her friend Nikki. Then there was the Twitter beef between Bananas and Taylor Hale. I know Bananas was in the running to come back to Traitors, but I think that beef may have taken Bananas out and put Taylor in. In this episode, the traitors decide to murder Derek, which I feel was illogical, but does go in line with Rob's pattern of eliminating threats. In their daily challenge, I like that half of them got shields. It was all very straightforward and easy to understand. This challenge was very unnerving. The buggies were so gross. They took the bug dumping from last season and dialed it up to 11. I will say that putting the bugs in the box during the tiebreaker and having them dig around seemed a bit cruel for the bugs, but maybe I'm sensitive. At the roundtable, Brittany really impressed me. She was giving faithful energy from the international civilian seasons. This is how you fight for your life. There was passion in her voice, and while I was worried for her having the traitor stank on her, I have hope that she's averted it with this performance. There were multiple times last season when the winners had their names brought up at roundtables and even got votes. Looking at these votes, Sierra is the only person left who votes Brittany alongside confirmed traitor Rob, which makes her look so suspicious. The group has suspected Sierra in the past, so this is a bad move for her. Seems like Chrishell and Dolores didn't want to make a decision and they just put Tom because they don't like him. Dylan's vote for Gabby is so sus. This is his second time doing it too. Not only that, but he spent this whole round stirring up the Brittany accusations, which for all they know could have been a fabrication from Dylan, and Derek could have never said it. Not voting for Brittany after all that is wild. Sam still has a perfect voting record. So the traitors have to decide who to murder, and here's where I say who the logical person to kill is. Of course, I'm never right. I'd keep Gabby safe because she's Carolyn's friend, and Dylan's coming for her, and through that I'd keep Dylan around, even though this is the rare opportunity where Dylan doesn't have a shield. Dolores and Chrishell are loud and wrong, so why not keep them too? So I'd murder Tom. He just caught a traitor and is pretty obviously faithful. In closing, I want to leave off with this. I've been thinking about this, And I want to ask the chat, let me know in the comments, in their relationship and in the edit, is Danielle and Brittany's storyline reminding you more of Sandra and Parvati or CT and Trishelle? Where do we think this is going? I'm gonna weigh in on this next week. But that's all I have to say for now. I'll be back next week with more Traitors. I'm also recapping Deal or No Deal Island and the Challenge All-Stars 5. If you like this video, consider liking and subscribing so you don't miss the future videos. Until next time, you know where to find me. Bye!